The other, another area to think about, we've mentioned it, we're hoping to expand SightLife Surgical by teaming up with many more eye banks in the U.S. and elsewhere. And we don't quite know exactly how to do that yet. We have a number of ideas. SightLife already has been a leader there, as they have been leaders in other areas related to the cornea, of acquiring, affiliating, and so forth. And we know that the world of corneal treatments will benefit from scale, efficiency, and ever better ways of treating, processing, and supplying the cornea. So that'll be another key business initiative already underway. We're going to resource that and try to do it really well, and just make give every eye bank the opportunity to team up with us in some win-win way. So Monty, you've done a couple. What do you find yourself thinking, and what are the risks there that we might, and anyone on the panel might want to kind of, what should we be worried about as we think about broadening the footprint of SightLife Surgical?
Yeah, so when you think about broadening the footprint of SightLife and SightLife Surgical, the number one concern always has to be quality. And what we do is so critical in the surgical process as we expand and as we grow. It has to be with an eye to maintaining or improving the quality that we have. When I think of the eye banking ecosystem, you have this ecosystem of 80 mostly ma type organizations, many of them today just really struggling to survive. And so I think there are opportunities for us to bring these organizations into SightLife or SightLife Surgical in a way that connects them to this bigger mission, this bigger purpose, but also in some cases gives them a sense of local autonomy or local purpose. And a really good example, Bill, is the recent joining we had with the Northeast Pennsylvania Lions Eye Bank. Northeast Pennsylvania Lions Eye Bank has been around since the 50s. Lions-sponsored organization initially, and it actually grew to be one of the 5 largest eye banks in the U.S. Unfortunately, as the markets have changed and the competition increased in the cornea space in the U.S., they struggled to meet their budgets and were operating at a deficit. But we were able to come alongside them and work with the Lions, work with their medical director, Buck Buchanan, who's here, and the rest of their team, and create a situation where they were able to transfer assets that were in the eye bank into a local foundation that the Lions controlled and could use to serve the community in need in eastern Pennsylvania, while at the same time transferring the eye bank operations into SightLife. And so what that did is it allowed them to have a seat at the table of eliminating corneal blindness, exploding their work onto the global stage, but at the same time having that resource that they kept at home to make sure that the underprivileged and people in need in eastern Pennsylvania had access to treatment that they needed. And the Lions board, that was the board of directors of the Northeast Pennsylvania Lions Eye Bank, still exists to this day. And they're in charge of dispensing those funds from that foundation and looking after the needs of the community. And not surprising, they're kind of pumped up about that and excited about this renewed opportunity to connect directly to helping people. I would guess in the not too distant future, they're probably going to roll out a vision screening unit that they'll be able to go out into communities and do vision screening with a focus on kids. And it'll be staffed by volunteer Lions. And so it just kind of create a whole new sense of energy for them. And so I think there's opportunities like that. I think there's other models that we haven't actually tried out yet. And in some cases, the eye bank will want to maintain a local presence in some form of eye banking activity. And so we'll figure out how we can partner with them and associate them into what SightLife Surgical is doing.
Yeah, we're going to wrap in a couple of minutes, but anyone that has any thoughts, suggestions, or questions, don't hesitate raise it at this time or in a moment. So that'll be kind of the scaling side. Each of you three has a source of cornea and someone you rely on. Obviously, you're already very directly involved in SightLife, Audrey. Steve and Dick, you're involved with other eye banks and other providers and so forth. What's your sense of how this will be received and how it will go? How do we do it that'll work the best? What do you think? Any suggestions?
Well, I think they're definitely, my experience has always been that people's initial response to any change is always to be anxious about it. And so that's any book you read would tell you that, the winds of change, but the only thing that is forever is change. And so I think once the corneal community, really appreciates that the culture of what we're trying to do, the value proposition that we have in mind, that they'll be very happy to have us, participating in the cornea field. So we're going to be a great partner to the Cornea Society, the Eye Bank Association of America. We're going to be a great partner to every corneal surgeon. We're going to be a great partner to other eye banks who want to stay independent but are looking for best practices. We'll teach them and help them. And then there'll be eye banks that are looking for someone to collaborate with more closely and join in, and we'll be available for that. So I think once people watch us in action, and I guess that's our responsibility, is to be a good partner for the corneal patient and the corneal surgeon, and put patients first, and surgeons and local societies that are dedicated to cornea high on our list. I think once we're a good partner, they're going to be very, very pleased with what we've done.
Well, your heart's in the right place, and you're putting patients first. There'll certainly be a initial resistance from some, and it could take a while. But in the end, it's got so much benefit because your heart's in the right place and you're putting patients first. Plus, I heard the word transparent multiple times, and that's key. It won't take long to figure this out, and then it'll be accepted.
Any questions?
Always makes me nervous when there's no questions, Bill.
Oh, it's just we're so effective communicators. So.
Is there any plan yet for the initial $10 million in seed money you put into this? The initial $10 million in seed money that Flying L Partners put into this. Are there any plans for that you can share with us, certain innovations you're already thinking about, and is it going to be the board of Flying L that's going to decide what SightLife invests in? The medical director is going to be involved. How is that going to work, or is it still figuring this out?
Yeah, we're still figuring it out. Okay, and it's a work in process. But what we're thinking is that it takes a community to sort, pick, and figure out best opportunities, and then to resource them and drive them forward. And so we have a small board of SightLife Surgical, which is Monty, Dick, myself, Melody, and Kush, sorry. And so we have a nice range of experience generally in this field and in innovation. So ultimately, it'll be a board, quote, decision to say, okay, what are we going to resource, whether it's, expanding operations in Florida or innovating from our research and development standpoint. We're actually already scheduling. We've had lots of ideas, as you could imagine, and we're getting lots of input, which we love, ideas that we hadn't thought about and so forth. So this is a process that's just getting going, okay, and it's not entirely organized yet. But Dick and I and Andy and a few others are going to go up to Seattle in early November. We're going to have a couple of day session, and one of the tasks there is to try to review operations and set strategy, initial strategy, including innovation and R&D. So we'll be getting input and debate among ourselves, but input from the outside as well. So I don't want to be too general, but I just want to be clear that it's a work in process. My hope and my view is that coming out of the first quarter of next year, I want us to be pretty darn clear on what the first 3 or 4 priorities are from an innovation standpoint. We'll review that robustly twice a year-ish, something like that, and refine it, resource it. And what I found is that we innovate best if we know, no kidding, what our strategy is, because when you're on strategy, you really resource projects beautifully, whether it's expanding operational capability or driving R&D projects, if you will. So, obviously, one of the projects that Monty and the team and we are fired up about would be the endothelial cell culture technology. Would that be fabulous? If we could figure out an appropriate way to bring that into SightLife and SightLife Surgical, and then figure it out, power it through the regulatory processes and get that on the market. My guess is that's going to be a minimum of 3 to 5 years of work. It's going to be properly resourced and planned and staffed and all of that. So it's at the idea stage now, and there's some early clinical signals in some 30 patients now that are pretty darn exciting. And we have to convert that early signal and all the passionate work that's been done to bring it to this stage, then do the planning in an objective, thorough way to say, okay, what's it going to take it from the lab, to the market, et cetera. So that's the way we'll think those things through. Any other, Dick and Steve and Audrey, you've all been involved in innovation. Does that all make sense?
Well, we've been a company for almost a week.
Yeah, what the hell's going on here?
And so we're not yet launching a product, but but at this meeting we met with 5 or 6 entrepreneurs who have great ideas, and we'll continue to do that. We have amongst us a pretty good track record of choosing wisely and getting a return on investment, which is important to everyone, including the not-for-profit SightLife, since they're the major equity owner in this new company. They'll benefit more than anyone else from any profit that we can generate over time. But we'll be disciplined, but focused on the cornea, and there's lots of opportunity, and we won't do it all, but you'll start to see products coming out, I think, within perhaps 12 to 18 months. You'll see new products come on the market that never would have come on the market if we didn't create this company.
There was no other option until this company came along.
Bill, the other thing I would add to that we benefit from is in some ways we're starting. We just started, but we also have a bit of a head start or a running start because we get the benefit of an executive team and a leadership group at SightLife. And so we have tenured eye bank professionals like Bernie Iliakis, our Chief Operating Officer, Jerry Barker, who's our Chief Sales Officer. We have people with decades of experience in the eye banking space that are actually jumping on board a SightLife Surgical to get us really in a place where we have this running start. And so we benefit from all of that expertise and leadership that exists within SightLife. Many of those people are now SightLife Surgical employees in the structure, and they'll serve back and forth across both organizations. But when you look at the talent that we already have, and that gives us a great opportunity to start. And then you think of the talent that we can add to that organization, the next level talent to get through some of these R&D challenges and other opportunities that we have. It makes me really excited that we're going to attract not just the financial resources that Flying L has brought to SightLife Surgical, but we're going to actually attract better, smarter people to bring solutions to the cornea space.
There's Mike coming.
So if someone has an idea or a question or comment on what they heard tonight, how's the best way for them to follow up?
You know, for this group tonight, I would say you are best to email me. Email me directly, Monty, M-O-N-T-Y, Montoya, at SightLifeSurgical.com. I'll go one better. My cell phone number is 206. I'm not kidding. This is how it's 206-484-0194. You text me, call me, because we want your ideas. We want the surgeons to be involved in this, and really, in a lot of ways, we want corneal surgeons to think of this as your company. Because we are all about the cornea, and we're not going to do this without your input. And so if you do have questions or ideas, that's probably the best place to start. Now, I'm probably going to have to delegate that off to somebody smarter than me eventually, but you'll know that if you start with me, I will see that it finds an ear where it can actually really get considered. So,
Well,
great
we're going
question.
to, yet another question, comment? Yeah, of course.
Buck Buchanan, an eye surgeon, cornea surgeon in Pennsylvania, Northeast Pennsylvania Lions Eye Bank. This was such a paradigm shift. My entire career and setting was to have a small eye bank that grew into the 4th or 5th largest eye bank in this country. And to understand where we are and to listen and to see this innovative approach, I truly believe that this setting of eye banks working and joining and understanding this mission, and I can say personally for the other medical directors of this eye bank, Alan Leahy, Dave DeRose, that we actually truly experienced joining the mission to eliminate corneal blindness. We felt it. And for me to be able to communicate that through half the state of Pennsylvania, to come to this moment and setting was an incredible experience. I just want to say that eye banks can do this, and from the entire setting of this country, I think it's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Super. Thank you. Well, it's going to be hard to follow that. But I want to thank everyone for coming. Thank those that have invested their time and a lot of their life toward moving ahead and helping people see better.